Everyone,
Good evening.
I would like to go ahead and call our June council meeting to order. Today is June 25th and it is 7:04 p.m. If I could please have a moment of silent meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, I need to strike out F2 and F3. Richard, did you want to speak for a moment in lieu of Pizzo or?
I was just going to text him to see if he's on his way.
No, they're not coming. Neither one of them's coming. Pizzle called you. So wait, the meeting, not yet, but after.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to strike F3 and then F2 and F2, and I'm going to put lobbying team in lieu of them. Jason Pizzo, Senator Representative Joseph called the manager yesterday, and Senator Pizzo texted me at 6 o'clock and then called me that he's rescheduled for the July meeting. With that said, may I get a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment, with the change?
Motion to approve the changes.
Motion's been made by Councilperson Roman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any nays? Hearing none, our agenda passes with the change. With that said, first up we have the approval of the minutes for the May 28th regular council meeting. We don't have them here with us today, but they were emailed to us. We had the opportunity to take a look at the minutes.
Madam Mayor, I reviewed them, but there are quite a bit of errors on it. So I would say that they need to be, I don't have them in front of me to tell you what the errors were, but it's similar to what we discussed last month, where names are incorrect, or misspelled, or names of people that aren't here.
So is the names incorrect as far as who is speaking? So for example, the vice manager speaking, is the state councilperson Mathis, is that
I
what?
didn't see that in these.
Because that was before.
Right, that was before, so that occurred in the last 2 or 3 months. What I happened to see on these minutes were that they just didn't make sense. Like if you read the minutes, certain things just didn't make sense.
Well, and that's fine, we can table it, but I think a greater conversation that needs to be had is these aren't minutes, these are more, so, but we might have talked about an admin and finance because they're actually not minutes, they're more like a court reporter type, so we'll table them. Well, how about we table them to the admin and finance meeting, okay, as opposed to the next council meeting?
Yeah.
I did. And for the record, Councilperson Mathis is here. Okay, so this is going to be tabled to the admin and finance meeting. Okay? Any questions on that? Hearing none? Okay. Next up, we're presenting the proclamation to the late Miss Ethel Ferguson to Dr. Anna Wood. Okay. The Village of El Portal proclamation to the late Mrs. Ethel Lee Ferguson. Whereas the Village of El Portal was incorporated in 1937, and since its incorporation, it has recognized the various successes of its residents in the presence of documented evidence. And whereas Miss Ethel Lee Ferguson was a resident homeowner of El Portal for over 32 years, residing the entire time at 420 Northwest 88 Terrace. And whereas Mrs. Ferguson actively affected change during the years of segregation by marching fearlessly in Miami-Dade County and across the state of Florida until segregation was outlawed by the Civil Rights Act of 1964. a feat that she was proud to bear witness of. And whereas Mrs. Ferguson enjoyed a stable and long-standing career in the nursing profession and retired from Jackson Memorial Hospital's Trauma Center in 1997, and is subsequent to retirement, she continued her life's passion of caring for and about other people, her loving kindness being noteworthy and sufficient that she was deemed Mother of Abundant Life Ministries. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the unique qualities of her, the accomplishments, and life of one of El Portal's most beloved and respected residents. Now therefore be it resolved by the Village Council of El Portal, Florida, who hereby extends our deepest sympathy to the family of the late Miss Ethel Lee Ferguson. Be it further resolved that an official copy of this proclamation be prepared and presented to her eldest daughter, Cynthia Graham, as a tangible token of the sentiments expressed herein and in recognition of this noteworthy El Portal resident.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the family, thank you for this proclamation. It is very noteworthy to give recognition to the humblest of those of us. Mrs. Ferguson tended to attend many of the functions that happened here in Village Hall. A very humble lady. She didn't walk around with her laurels on her shoulder. She merely had a presence. Being my across the street neighbor, you can imagine that I am still in mourning. So thank you all very much.
As I mentioned earlier in the meeting, I'm leaving after the proclamation. I leave you in very good hands of Vice Mayor Nickerson, and I will see you in a couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As always, she's always working hard for the village, traveling and doing things to put our village in the forefront and bring us what we need, and we always appreciate that, Madam Mayor. Take care and have a safe trip.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, guys, see you soon.
Next, we'll be moving on to the next presentation, and that will be with our lobbyists. Are we going to lobby team? And that will be headed up by Mr. Pinsky.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Richard Pinsky, Eli Nortellis, and Dave Roberts. Really tonight, we did anticipate Senator Pizzo and Representative Joseph being here so we could have more than just a two-way conversation, but we'd have a trilateral discussion. But that didn't happen. But nonetheless, I think you all got a copy of the governor's veto list. And if you notice, there are no water projects on the list at all. That's good news for everybody that had a water project in the budget. Unfortunately, we did not make it in the budget, but it does bode well, I think, for next session, because we were promised that they could not get all of the communities in. So hopefully we will be in, and I think the governor is obviously taking a position that water projects, even though they are very localized, have a priority in his opinion. Whereas the veto list, if you notice, and your neighbor Miami Shores did have their individual project vetoed, but it underscores what you've heard us say over and over again, and that is localized projects that are for a very localized community are on the chopping block. Whereas a project that is more regional in nature obviously is going to pass the muster. So some of these road projects that are on here were really just very localized. There are many road projects in the budget that did not get vetoed because they transcended just one community. So going into our planning for next session, we've talked about not just the water projects coming back again, because they are not just important to the village, but for Little River, sea level rise, and what it means to the residences on both sides is a great deal. The septic to sewer on Northeast Second Avenue connectivity, that's a regional project. So those are both two still very worthy projects that we just have to go with. The discussion now is what else that we may want to fold in and add. So if there's something that Raider Church may need help from an economic development standpoint, because again, that's going to be of an economic development in the region, that would be a consideration. If Little Farm, if that's going to be a consideration, some infrastructure needs, that even though there's an eye to the possible future of a rail stop, whether it's in the coastal link, I don't think it'll be a direct right line, but maybe in the coastal link on the FEC. So what infrastructure would have to be in place? So these are the long-term conversations that you want to be having on economic development, and then of course, the immediate needs that we are going to go back again to the water projects. But I'm going to let Eli and David add to it, and we'll take any questions. Okay, so if there's anything, but the next workshop, Mr. Mayor, whatever is appropriate, that's where we're going to want to now sit down and talk about, what that is and flesh that out. I know the city manager and I, and we've talked before and getting ready, what you can do locally with the MPO for your local road projects. There is money in that MPO, and you just have to get on that list, but I'm sure you don't have a seat on the MPO, but you're still eligible to receive those MPO road dollars. So. Yeah, and of course the session does start earlier, so September is committee weeks. Agency budgets have to be in September, so we follow that usually, but by November we should have all of our requests in, done, buttoned down. It will be the deadline.
Well, before I go around and ask everybody their questions, I see that Councilperson Mathis definitely has a question. First of all, I appreciate the promotion, but I'm not worthy of the title of mayor.
You are right now. You technically are.
I'm running the meeting, but I'm still the vice.
You are the mayor.
But aside from that, you guys out there, they were here with us last month, at last month's full council meeting also. And there I did bring up, or I asked the question that could we focus on other things, also along with the water projects, because I want us to be in a position next year to where with going for those water projects as hard as we do, and we should continue to go forward with that and try to get those as much as possible. I do want to also focus on everything else that we could possibly get, so that we don't just put all our eggs in one basket and we end up empty-handed with nothing. Because there could be other things that we're getting and improving El Portal through that are not just water projects, just in case we don't get the water projects. So I think that we should continue to look into that. And with that being said, I know Councilperson, I'll let everybody know Councilperson Mathis was kind of chopping at the bits while you guys were talking, so I'll let him go first. The distinguished one. Good to see you, Councilperson Mathis. Good to see you too.
I just wanted to know, myself and the mayor went out for day days, but I just want to know, should we start trying to schedule some meetings with people sooner than later? Madam Mayor, if at all possible, if you can't do it, I'm more than willing to go to Tallahassee or anybody else do as well.
To that point, Commissioner, stay after Senator Pizzo. You couldn't make it tonight, but
I'm going to call.
yeah, you are, you are a connection there. So I would go have lunch with them. I mean, don't wait for the meeting. You need to start working that relationship now, and then ask him that same question you just asked us. Senator, help us help you. What can we do? But you're my Senator Pizzo guy.
Councilperson Roman.
Nothing to really add. I agree with what the Vice Mayor said, that perhaps, we look at other things than just the water for this coming session and see what we can go. I mean, it's still, this water sewer is still very important.
Councilperson Roman.
This is Councilperson Erlon. I remember speaking to you guys at the last meeting. The deadline in terms of September going to committee sounds Like that's where our focus needs to be prepared by August, so that we're prepared for committees in September, so we're in our best position in November. So I certainly would make myself available for anybody who is planning a trip to Tallahassee. I would make myself available to be there as well, and then I'll be dealing with the manager to be sure I'm not doing anything redundant too much, but I do have an intention of reaching out to Senator Pizzo as well to represent Joseph. So, yeah.
Yes. Excellent.
So could you, two things. One, if the manager will send us a copy of your budget, because us looking at it, there may very well be items you are spending money on that it's maybe not an appropriation from the legislature, but Fish and Wildlife, FDOT, Department of Environmental Protection. There are agencies that just have small dollar grant monies. I don't want to say lying around, but they are available. They're available that you can apply for.
Yeah.
So rather than you telling us, what do you need? You may spend money on, peacock protections. That's already money that may be available to you. So I think if we look at your budget and it's like, oh, they're spending money on that, well, that you could offset it with some state help. My second question is, so where are we on the school board land issue? Is that okay to ask? I don't want to bring up a sore subject.
May I, Vice Mayor Nicholson? Yes, I have no trouble telling you that we're still in communication with the school board, and we've ramped it up to another person who says that they are the correct entity to make these connections or this contact with. So we are, I think, speaking to the right person now. And it's beyond the principal, and we're working with him in a different capacity, but now we're at the right place, and we're just negotiating. So it should be soon. We're hopeful to be getting some information really soon about yay or nay.
Okay, good.
And just about you mentioned you wanted a copy of the budget. I will send that to you, but we are having our first and only budget workshop on July 9th, which is Wednesday. I'm sorry, Tuesday or whatever. I don't have to look at the calendar, but we're having that, and in that meeting and that workshop, we will assess where we're at now and what we're planning for future, and what monies we do have available. So we'll have more information for that, but I'll share the budget with you in the coming days as well.
Good.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Attorney, you have any questions or comments for him? Okay, and anybody else? Any last questions or comments? No? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
All right,
you.
take care. Madam Mayor, would you like to come up and add anything or? Thank you very much. All right. We're moving right on. The next thing is good and welfare. If anybody out here in the audience has anything that they want to say about anything on the agenda, concerning the agenda tonight, this is your time to come and say that right now. We have another good and welfare at the very end. If you want to, if you have anything that you want to say at the very end to close things off. At the very end, when we do good and welfare, you can talk about anything at all that is on your mind. The first good and welfare, we're talking about anything that is concerning the agenda. Hearing none, we're moving right on to the first resolution. Mr. Attorney, if you could please read the first resolution.
Yes, Mr. Vice
Thank you very
Mayor.
much.
This is resolution number 2019-01, RSP awarding number VOP 2019-02, a resolution of the Mayor and Elkhorn Town, Florida Village Council awarding request for proposal VOEP 219-02, Emergency Disaster Debris Removal Services to Custom Treated Care, Inc., authorizing the village manager to execute the related agreement and expend budget funds on behalf of the village and furtherance hereof, providing for implementation and providing for the effective date. Introduced by village manager Christina Lou.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions about this resolution up here on the dais before I turn it over to the audience? Questions or comments about the resolution? Hearing none. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions or comments about Resolution 2019-01. Questions or comments, you can come up and ask that now. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2019-01?
I'll move approval.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilperson, Councilperson Mathis, and I have a second by Councilperson Roman.
I'm sorry.
No, I have a motion by Councilperson Mathis, and I have a second by Councilperson Roman. And can I have a roll call, please,
Yes,
for 2019?
My apologies. Okay. Councilperson Irvine.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Councilperson Mathis.
Definitely, yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes,
The motion passes 4-0.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to resolution number 2019-02. Mr. Attorney, if you can please read resolution 2019-02 into the record.
Yes, Vice Mayor Nickerson. Resolution number 2019-02 is a resolution of the Mayor and El Portal, Florida Village Council, awarding request for proposal number VOEP 2019-01, Emergency Disaster and Debris Management Services to Disaster Program and Operations, Inc., authorizing the village manager to execute the related agreement and expend budgeted funds on behalf of the village in furtherance thereof, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date. Introduced by village manager Christy Lee.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. For resolution 2019-02, and these kind of work in congruent with one another, that's why you see the numbers that are there. All right, but resolution 2019-02, before I turn it over to the audience, is there anybody from the dais that has any questions or comments about resolution 2019-02? Seeing none, out there in the audience. Thank you very much, Trey, and we appreciate it. That you said your all right, I appreciate that. Always want any type of communication I can get, you know. So, quiet. So here we go. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions about resolution 2019-02? Seeing none, back up here on the dais. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2019-02? I have a motion by Councilperson Roman. Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second by Councilperson Irvine. Madam Mayor, please have a roll call.
I'm the
Madam
manager.
Manager.
Madam Mayor, please have a roll call.
Everybody can.
Everybody's a manager.
Councilperson Mathis.
Yes.
Councilperson Irvine.
Yes.
Councilperson Roman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. The next thing we're moving to are the mayor, manager, committee, and attorney reports. We don't do committee reports anymore. The mayor has left for the evening. Therefore, we're going to go right into the village manager report. Before we go into the village manager report, we have in front of us the budget numbers. Make sure you guys, everybody goes over this, especially before the budget workshop. We unfortunately didn't have a administration and finance meeting last month. Every Tuesday, I meet with the manager, we meet with the CFO. Therefore, there's a lot of information about this that I know, but all that's going to come out in the budget workshop. So if everybody can please make sure you come to the budget workshop, and there's a lot of numbers in here that you might not at this point understand, but that can be explained very, very easily, and we'll go through at the budget workshop. So that is July 9th. So everybody, July 9th, everybody out there, budget workshop, July 9th at 6:30 p.m. here in the Village Hall. July 9th, 6:30 p.m. here in the Village Hall. Everything that you guys want to know about what we spend money on, what we're looking to spend money on, you guys can, at that budget workshop, it's the workshop. So at that budget workshop, you can look over things and you can say, hey, I don't like how you guys are spending money here. And then, you know, you can tell us, this shouldn't be like this. That's where you want to do it, that budget workshop, okay? So make sure you come out for that. Being said, we're going on to the reports and we're going into the village manager. Oh, first of all, does anybody have anything else that they want to say? I know because the mayor's not here for her report, so we can use this time if anybody else has anything, council people that you want to bring up, the attorney. Well, your referral, please.
I can do it in new business.
It's up to you. You can do it now if you want to.
I sent a ordinance for review to the attorney regarding fencing materials. And a little bit to do with what needs to be taken care of when it comes to the new construction, what needs to be in place. So hopefully we'll get that by the next council meeting or
It'll be at the planning and zoning.
planning zone. Okay.
Thank you very much for the councilors. Anybody else?
I would just say that next week, July 2nd, is a code enforcement committee meeting. So I would encourage anybody listening at home to come out and join us for that committee meeting. It should be my first meeting that I'm fully up to speed here and moving at velocity. So there you go. July 2nd.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job, councilors.
And I'll take this time to announce the July 4th barbecue. We're having it once again on July 4th, 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Come join us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I always want to celebrate your event.
July 4th.
July 4th. 11:30. Come out. Get some good barbecue. Anybody else want to use this time to say anything? Well, you guys already have your reports coming up, so. All right, so we'll go right into the village manager report. Madam Manager, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to make it brief. It's just been a really busy June, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview. We're continuing to work on all of our special projects, being the sanctuary, the annexed area of Biscayne Boulevard, former trailer park development, and maintenance of the village hall. I will mention, because I think this is important for people to know, that we are considering we just had a roof replaced here in Village Hall, which is great, so we're leak-free. And we're looking at just some other things that were brought to our attention through our FDLE audit. So we would, I think it's important that we look at the need for the holding cell, and I think that need no longer exists. And it is strongly recommended that we no longer have that. It has created a liability in a situation that we no longer need holding cell. There are alternatives for holding people who need to be held, and we can look at that from other jurisdictions, other municipalities that are implementing other tactics like using their vehicles and transporting. So that said, we want to look at costs and ways to utilize that space to benefit the village and our administrative offices and police department. So I'll be letting you all know about that once we do a deeper dig on that.
I'm sorry. Would our insurance go down?
I'm sorry.
Would our insurance go down?
I don't know yet. I haven't done deeper on that yet, but that could also be effective, I'm sure. So I'm working with the police chief on that. We are wrapping up our annual tree trimming for hurricane preparedness. Tomorrow should be the last day, and we have bulk pickup that started today. So we had 13 waste management trucks out today picking up bulk. They are getting it in, getting it done. So I'm hopeful that by Friday, at the last day, we will have all of our debris off of the curbsides, and we will have our tree trimming done in a cost-effective way. We will see if this worked for us this time around to see if we're going to do that again next year. I will keep you informed. FEMA has obligated over $2.1 million for our FEMA reimbursements, and we are very happy with that number. We are well on our way. We're just awaiting further instructions to receive those funds, but we're good. In the meantime, we still are going to move forward with the renewal of that line of credit, which doesn't cost us a thing to do that, but we want to have it just in case we don't get those monies in hand by the due date, which is 31st of July. So our CFO and bank account representative they are working on that with us. We are also in talks with the county, CITT, MPO, and TPO about utilizing our CITT funds to bring a transportation vehicle. I don't know if it's going to be a bus or a shuttle, what have you, but it's some free transportation to our residents to go to the Brightline Station downtown Miami for free. And we are looking to put in 2 stops within the village. Again, utilizing our CITT funds, so we'll discuss that further at the budget workshop. But that is a feather in our cap right now because, that is something good for our residents that we can utilize and it would make us, get us closer to being, as eco-friendly and green as we can get. So I will keep you posted on that, but those things are happening very quickly, and we're expecting by November to have that transportation in place. Chief Magnuson, just to give you an update on departments, Chief Magnuson continues to lead his team, the El Patel Police Department, and finding creative ways to lead and also to address some of the issues of the department. He's been very successful in getting staff trained and all of the training documents and training records are up to date. He provided a list and that's in the report for you all to review. They will be doing qualifying tomorrow at Medley Range, which is a good thing for our officers to stay current and to be where they need to be as well. We're also looking at filling the open full-time police officer position. And we're looking at some different scenarios, but I expect that we will be doing that in the next couple of weeks. So we'll be posted, especially the public safety committee will keep you involved as well. Code enforcement. As you all know, we had a fire on June 5th at the apartment buildings located between Northeast 89th Street and Northeast 90th Street on Northeast 2nd Avenue. And we had a couple of code violations that were addressed. The owners did come in and pay their fines, but to date we have the property cleaned up. The residents were displaced in Red Cross housing. They're still there, and we are hoping to get, well, not hoping, we're requiring that we receive some documentation, some letter, I think it's called a letter, engineering letter, that will describe the burn trusses and those types of things that come from a fire that did that kind of damage. So we're moving forward with that, and the owners seem to be in compliance, and they say they're working on things. Our building official Blair Bubbly has attended training for natural pollution and disaster permitting in line with our NPDES requirements. We're also fully completed in all of our trainings and requirements for SolSmart. So we're also promoting solar paneling for our community. The people who are doing renovations seem to be interested in this. This is a good thing for us, and we are moving forward. So we're up to standards with our those innovations. And on, I think it was last week, we had a comprehensive plan review workshop. Councilperson Urban and I attended. It was poorly attended, sadly, but we are going to have a second one September 5th. I hope that more residents can come out to affect some kind of change with that, with our code. I think it's really important that we get new ideas. We have not changed the code in a number of years, and we have been getting quite a number of complaints about, I want to use my swell for this, and I want to use this kind of material for my fence. I mean, this is the time to make those changes and to make your voices heard. So that workshop is scheduled for September 4th at 1 p.m. That's a Saturday, so hopefully we'll have bigger attendance. And I mean, we're always busy doing something, but that's just a little bit of what we're doing, and we continue
At
on 1 p.m. September 4th. And yeah, we're always open for business. Like I said, we got a lot going on, but that's just a little touch on what's happening, and we're looking forward to our 4th of July celebration and a big month for committees and council meetings and workshops and budget. That concludes my report.
September 4th is a Wednesday.
Well, then it's September, whatever the Saturday is.
7th.
The 7th?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager, appreciate that. Mr. Attorney, do you have anything you want to?
Yes, just briefly, Vice Mayor Nickerson. We have some ongoing matters that we continue to work on. The first is we had a reopener with the Police Association, and we revisited the issue of the take-home vehicle policy. They and I have gone back and forth. I think we're at the point where they received our final comments, and I'm still waiting to hear back from them in connection with our offer for the take-home vehicle policy. Just to be specific, you may recall a few months ago when we came back from the last negotiations, we wanted to implement a take-home vehicle policy that was going to be global in nature for everyone in the village at the manager's discretion. The police department wanted it specific to officers. We amended the policy to include that, but one of the main elements of the policy that the village wants to keep is that it be considered a pilot program. So in other words, to give the village a period of time, which we proffer to be 1 year, to analyze whether or not it is something that we would then incorporate into as an element of the collective bargaining agreement. They're on the other side of the fence. They want that perk, if you will, included at this juncture so that there is a policy, it becomes an automatic part of the collective bargaining agreement. So we're just waiting to hear back from them as to where our position is. The other thing is, since our last meeting, we did receive the proposed redevelopment agreement from the Barrington Brothers for the annex area on Northeast 3rd Street. It has been circulated amongst our professionals. The planning and zoning consultant has looked at it in terms of open spaces. I know the managers also reached out to a professional who's going to look at also the analysis with regard to what would be the best, I guess the best way to say it's income back to the city for the concessions that the developer is looking at. In short, in the next, we expect that the next planning and zoning board meeting, we would have something formal to present to the committee as the proposed development agreement from the developer. The last is, I think,
Is that next week or the following?
the following.
The following, so in 2 months.
Yeah, right, in 2 months. I know that they're very anxious to get the process moving. As you can imagine, this is really the first time that the village has been presented with this type of proposal from a developer. So we want to make sure that out the box, we don't set precedent that we don't want to have to retrench from in the future with either the Oak Farm Holiness or some other development. So we want to make sure that whatever concessions, if any, that the village does propose as part of the development agreement is well considered and then going forward. Last, the manager was very successful in negotiating an easement for the storm drainage facility at El Jardín property. I did lately prepare the easement for the owner's execution. So we should have that coming to you all at the next meeting as a resolution, signing off on the easement that the owner has agreed to provide the village, which is great news. So those are the highlights.
Thank you very much, appreciate it. Before we go on, does anybody have, on the dais, have any questions for the manager or the attorney? Anything that they reported or anything to say?
One last thing, I think Councilman Mathis alluded to it. I think part of the welfare, Councilman Mathis had some suggestions on how we should move forward in amending our fence ordinance. And so I and our consultant considered those elements, and that will also be coming to the committee, Planning and Zoning Board Committee, with the suggestions that we came up with for discussion.
Appreciate it.
August or next week?
It should be next week.
Next
Yeah,
week.
because we discussed it 2 weeks ago, and Camila did send proposed language, so we'll certainly have that at the next meeting. We'll make sure of that. there's no delay.
From Councilperson Mathis, Councilperson Mathis and from the attorney, appreciate that.
If I may add one more thing, I would be remiss if I don't mention that Maggie from Chairwoman Audrey Evans's office is here, and she and I have been working like this on moving the sanctuary project forward. We hit a roadblock, and we are determined to get through it. So we're working together, getting through it, and hopefully that sanctuary new septic plan will be accepted by the Health Department, State's Health Department.
Thank you very much. How you doing, Maggie? Thank you. Good to see you, sister. Before we move on,
I just want to thank the chief and the police department for the coffee with the chief. It was very well attended. We had about 20 residents, I would say. I didn't count them, but that's what it looked like. And it was quite informative. I know the residents that did attend were very happy with what they heard. We've received, I saw some emails and follow-up that we received right after from the chief. So it's a breath of fresh air to get the quick responses, so thank you, Chief. And Councilperson Urban was there, attended, the mayor attended, I attended, and all of the staff. So thank you. I believe the village manager was traveling, but we did have a great representation from the entire staff of the village. So thank you for that.
thank you very much. You and me, we were like sharing the same thought, because I was just about to thank the chief for everything that he does. And I was going to ask him if since we're in like the reports, if there's anything that he just wanted to say before I moved on. I was just about to come to you right before she said that.
I can hold out till next Tuesday.
Yeah, okay. All right. We'll hold out to the Public Safety Committee meeting. Make sure you guys come to the Public Safety Committee meeting, and that will be next Tuesday. So we're moving on to unfinished business and general orders. Do I see any or hear any unfinished business and general orders up here? No. New business? Anybody with anything new they want to bring up? No. So right now we're going to go into good and welfare. This is the time that anybody out there in the audience, if there's anything at all that you would like to come up and talk about, it doesn't have to be anything that we did. It doesn't have to be just what we discussed on the agenda. You can say anything that's on your mind, anything the world has to offer to your brain. This is the perfect time to come up and say that. Come on up. Come on up, say your name and address for the record. Come on up and say your name and address for the record. And
Dr. Lightfoot Ward, 415 Office 88 Terrace. Hi, y'all.
What's wrong?
thank you for earlier.
When we do that budget workshop, I'd just like to make a recommendation that it be watermarked with draft on it. Because when it's not, people start talking like you already did the budget. You didn't. It's just a draft. And then it was just a thing last time that I kept saying, guys, it's a draft. Make sure the watermark is in there so we can just get rid of the silly stuff and deal with the real stuff. On July the 9th, for the budget session, can we put it on the marquee early? Because that's when the real work should be done, you know. And if I'm not here, I just simply missed it. But I think I'm in town that day. I see you brought Michael with you today. I see you brought Michael with you today. I'm proposing that since this is that time of the year, or the second time of the year, that we stop trying to do things with our senator and our representative in Tallahassee. That we meet them here. It's cheaper when we meet them here. You all know my background as a lobbyist. But that's not really the best time. We meet them here. Our senator has placed an office right up the street from us so that he can get to this east side. Ms. Joseph, I still don't know where her office is. If you could put that in the newsletter and let us all, I still don't know where her office is. I know where Frederica's office is. Because the landlord decided everybody Dade County, where Patrica's office is, marquee, everything, my goodness. But it's very nice. So consider that. And also, because we do talk about the budget, and it was such a rough time last time. If it's possible to have those in the village that are experienced, you know, we used to have Jesse McCray in the village, and he was the Secretary of State, the first black male to be Secretary of State. Well, that was years ago. And at that time, of course, it was a different place and time. But he advocated, come see me, the Secretary of State. Every paper's got to run through the Secretary of State, as well as other things that are very important. You get them done at the state level. Let me go with you sometime if you haven't thought about it. I did know, and I still do know, some of the people in Tallahassee, and definitely in Washington, if that's permissible. And please make sure it's permissible. I ain't paying back nothing, okay? Also, I'm sorry they didn't attend. Did we know that our senator and our rep wasn't attending? I was looking forward to that. We're a little bitty village. They need to know it took our votes too. And I mean, we voted in big numbers for them, both of them. Yeah, I'll talk to them myself the way I do, but did you just find out that they weren't coming today? That's not polite, is it? No, that's not polite. When we do the 4th of July, remember most of us are on diets, and we look good at 60 plus. We look good. So the pork has got to be not the only meat in the world that we can eat. Now, I ain't going veggie on July 4th. All right? I think it's wonderful. We used to have it right here. Right there. Remember that? We used to have it right here. That's all we had. What you had?
Did you say pork? We haven't had pork in the last.
You're a good person because somebody told the hot dogs were pork. Did you have hot dogs?
Yeah, that's right.
But it could have been beef.
Oh, okay, the hot one, but I think for beef.
They were beef.
No.
We used
If
to-
they're mixed, they're pork.
If they're mixed, they're pork.
That's right.
But,
Oh,
yeah,
my
it is
husband
chicken.
doesn't- my
Yeah.
husband doesn't eat pork, so I kind of.
There you go.
They were beef.
There you go.
But I'll double check, because I just
Yeah.
spoke to the caterer today,
Yeah.
so I'll double check.
Yeah, it was always a fun thing to come to. I'm usually out of town, but I think I'm here this time. Do you know that the MPO doesn't exist anymore in Dade County? It's called the what? The TPO. There's no such thing as MPO, TPO. It's just the TPO. Because they do more than metropolitan. They do collectively. Please fix the little library. Everybody know what I'm talking about, yeah? Please fix it. Get somebody that knows how to work with metal. It is a favorite spot. It is truly a favorite spot. And I just learned that it was a resident, a registered address in Dade County, in El Patel. Isn't that something? The little house is actually registered. It's certified. Yeah, Mayor told us on Saturday. He said it's actually registered. I go, whoa, that's wonderful. So we just can't let it go to pot. I mean, if that means we got to give them a code enforcement violation, then we ought to give ourselves a code enforcement violation because it's a registered house. You'll do it? Yeah. No, fix it. It's really a favorite for the children and senior citizens and those who like to read. I like to read. The 1, 2, 3 list of going solar would be a good idea. My neighbors around the corner just did one, and we've asked 3 of them that's in the village. I think it's 3 to 6 of them that have solar right now. Don't hold me to that. They said they're running about $30,000 to $40,000, and it's a quiet little thing on the back of your, or somewhere in the middle of your mortgage payment. Your taxes is a little bit higher. They make it real comfortable for you, but I think we need to be open, like we have this paperwork over here to say you want to go solar, here are the details. Because I actually read it when it came out, and I said, oh, that's sweet. That's really sweet. That's sweet. But you got to know the nuances. It's not cheap, but it certainly is nice.
That's being offered through Y-Green?
Beg your pardon?
Is that being offered through Y-Green?
Yeah, they offer, they offer Lady Smart.
Yeah.
And it's on our website.
It's not, it's a good thing, but I'm trying to pay off a mortgage. I'm not trying to maintain a mortgage, okay? Y'all better talk with me. I'm trying to keep you safe. Between 30 and 40,000, which is even greater than a payout for the transitioning to the county sewer system. Now, what do we want? What do we want? Because these gentlemen over here told me that it's going to be something like $7 grand. And we already know we have a split between older people in the village and folks, you two, your age. That's a little bitty gap, okay? So we need to consider that, and it's not that we can't do it, it's just what do we want? And nobody's gonna do a solar panel, oh, that's great, and then they know, bam, you got to do that. Councilman Marcus can tell you how we got our garbage done. We were about to be in violation of federal law. Not garbage, how our taxes were raised. We have that added amount for water and sewer. That came under my administration when I was mayor. And basically, I had to levy $2 a month on our bill because nobody would act, and we were about to get in trouble with the feds for not acting on something that we knew we were doing, and that was what? Infecting, diluting, polluting our water system. We had nothing there. Well, I like it to be a little bit more smoother. They were supposed to go to a vote, but privilege of the mayor reigned. We were about to be fined big time. And I took that privilege to just simply say, we got to do it, y'all. And we didn't have a village manager at that time either. So just keep that in consideration. Don't put us where we have to decide between that leaky roof or that fixing that roof every 12 years and sewer. We need to have a balance because we are not going to get by knowing our water tables on this side. We're not going to get by very long saying that we're not going to do something about it. The mounds that we're seeing, I don't know if there's a code. I hope not a code for that right now, but those mounds are not pretty. But folks that live on this side of the nearest the canal, they're about 13 feet from what I'm trying to say, the water, what am I trying to say, aquifer. They're about 13 feet. And I had two neighbors tell me that that's why they had to raise it. I didn't know that. I did not know that. But that's a significant cost if you've got to raise your septic to keep from going into the aquifer. That's a pretty significant thing to consider. If they don't do something with that raised, they didn't ask for that, but they got to do something because it's ugly. Fortunately, the neighbors leading here, they're doing some really natural stuff to it. It's pretty and very inexpensive, but it just can't stay there forever and ever. It's got to be something. Let the grass grow, do something with it, but they can't help it. They have to, and so I don't think that was in our code at all, that they have to raise it. With that said, thank you all for the resolution for Sister Ferguson, Mother Ferguson. I would appreciate that very much. And for others, everybody know Miss Lee? Chief, did you get to see Miss Lee? You gotta know Miss Lee. Miss Lee is one of your oldest residents. She lives alone, has full senses. You know Miss Lee. You should know Miss Lee. Miss Lee is 98. Don't y'all tell her I told her age now. That one for sure, because a lot of people check on Miss Lee, but we don't know who's checking that shouldn't be checking on Miss Lee. We don't know. Okay? Thank y'all very much. I took up all the minutes I could. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Dr.
I got a question. Sorry. I got a question. Okay.
Madam Manager.
Vice Mayor, I forgot to also mention, I'm thankful that you
mentioned our seniors, Dr. Ward. The mayor and I are planning a resiliency workshop for July 20th that will incorporate our seniors in public safety as well as in hurricane preparedness. So we will be doing a big outreach. Our police chief has committed to doing that with our seniors and getting to know them and having them more engaged with us so that they are a part of our public safety plans.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. Appreciate that. Is there anybody else for good and welfare? Seeing and hearing none, do I have a motion to, or is there anything else that anybody up here in the diocese to say before we adjourn? Any last comments, any last questions, anything? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn the?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilperson Roman. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Councilperson Mathis. The regular council meeting for June the 25th is adjourned at 7:59 p.m. Thank you, everybody.